Colin, I'm telling you, it's
Yeah.
killing me.
Hey there, this is Mike Durr, Kingwood Mortgage Guy, and I'm here with Joe Salas of the Purple People. No, I'm sorry, the Purple Paint Inspection and Jane Byrd International. I don't forgive me for that, Joe. I
It's
know
all
you
good.
know I'm kidding. Anyway, we're here to go through our normal banner today, and we're going to do it a little bit different today. We're going to talk about some of the questions that particularly first-time home buyers don't ask. And why would we talk about the ones they don't ask? Well, because they don't know anything. And that's what I find is they don't know what they don't know. But Joe, introduce yourself.
I'm Joe Salas. I am owner and an inspector for Purple Paint Inspections, license number 22197. And I'm also a licensed realtor with Jane Byrd Properties International. Thanks for having me, Mike.
No, I'm so glad you're on here because I see a wealth of knowledge there. And so let me ask you this question first, and since we're going to be talking about questions today, is when you meet a new potential buyer, what are the questions that they have? And I'm not so much on the inspection side this time. As a realtor, what would be one of the questions that they might ask you first?
Well, as we're looking at homes and they decide on a home, it's what should we offer? Well, what should we offer? That's one of the ones that we get a lot. Uh,
Yeah. Well, that's and these days. How do you know? I mean, who knows what's going to happen?
We have several tools that are available to us, some solely within the brokerage that I operate at, and some that are shared throughout the associations that I'm a part of. Mainly, though, it's knowledge of the local sales and comparable sales in an area that we compare the market to, or what the house is priced at. So in today's world, though, we're trending on the higher side of that market price spectrum. So when you're looking at a home and you know there are multiple offers, if you do know there are multiple offers, in today's world you want to be rather aggressive.
Yeah. So that brings up a whole bunch of questions for somebody, and it just makes sense. You think, gosh, I'm going to offer them what they're asking, right? Is that a good strategy for them to get a new home? Seems like it would be.
Well, I'm going to say it depends. It depends on the situation, the condition of the home, how long the home has been on the market. It depends. It depends. I think back to a client that I was working with, and he's an engineer client. I love engineers. I love dealing with them, and I'm an analytical person, just from previous work experience and everything. But we were looking at homes in the Heights area, and we were putting in offers. He was listening to me. We were being aggressive, but it just was a competitive market, so we were missing out. Part of what the gentleman and I would talk about was where is market price and where would he need to be. And he was, like I said, real analytical. Finally, at one point, we got to a point where we missed out on 2 or 3 deals. And I just looked at him and I said, look, you like this house? And we were at a house that him and his wife really liked. And he said, yeah, I love it. And I said, then you got to bid from here and not from here. And a lot of times in this market, it's whether or not you want the house. We as realtors are going to guide you with the information and the tools that we have available to provide you the information for you to make that decision. But ultimately, it's not necessarily a decision that just solely should come from your brain or the analytical side of you. The emotional part gets attached to it too. And if you love a house, if you really love a house and you want to buy that house, then you need to make your offer stand out within reason, right? And then, Mike, that's where you come into play, right? You're going to be looking at their credit and getting them the best rate. Is that right?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what we do. And it's been an interesting last couple months because of the tear that rates have been on. But the real question, and I have it same thing, because Sandy and I have been looking at houses also. We've been in the same house for 30 years. I don't know too many people that have been in their house 30 years, and I never thought I was going to be one of them, to be honest with you. But we've looked at some houses. We've made a couple offers on houses, and I was just lamenting just last week, the first house that we made an offer on. I loved that house, and we operated not so much on what I was going to say what I thought. My wife's a realtor, so I thought, you know what? She knows better than I, And so she offered less than what I suggested, and we didn't get the house. And I'm going, man, that was such a great house. But you just never know. And I've had people, and I see this every day, is people will say, well, I'm pre-qualified, I'm pre-approved, and we're going to talk a little bit about that. I made this last weekend. We had a house, and I'll give you a specific example. The house was $475. It was a gorgeous house, and we offered $525. So they offered $50,000 over the asking price, and they didn't get the home. They didn't get the home because somebody from somewhere offered $550.
Yeah, it's happening right now.
Crazy.
It's happening right now. There are things, Mike, that you can do as a potential buyer that will strengthen the offer. One of them is price, coming in strong on pricing. But there are other things that you can do as a buyer with your agent to strengthen your offer. One is looking at option period. Option period for buyers is the period of time at the beginning of the contract where they have the unrestricted right to terminate. So shortening that period, I have a hard time telling a client to totally get rid of it because that protects them, right? Even if a pre-listing inspection was done, which if I'm on the listing side, I'm recommending to the seller anyway. It's always good to have a day or two to make sure that you made the right decision on the front side. Unrestricted right to terminate. So I get questions from buyers sometimes that they ask me, hey, how long should we waive this option period, or how long we should make it? It depends. How strong of an offer do you want to present? How competitive of a situation you're in, right?
Well, that's part of it, and the ingredients to getting your offers accepted. If we could bottle that and had something that worked consistently, I guarantee you we'd be doing it, because it's all different. And you mentioned the other day that make that offer from your heart, and I was thinking to myself, well, maybe your pocket might be a better idea, because in many times it is a dollar play for the seller, not always, and sometimes the sellers, they're in love with their house. They're going to some better place, I guess, but they want their house to be taken care of the way that they took care of it. And then there's those emotional things, and that's the hard thing that you talked about. But unfortunately, the money thing is one that we have to deal with. That brings the question up is, what do we do if it doesn't appraise? What's the answer to that? And really, we're learning more about that every day because it happens a lot.
There is a tool that we use in some offers, Mike, that is the addendum for the lender's appraisal, the buyer's lender's appraisal. There are several options on there on that addendum that defines what happens in that situation, right? And working with the mortgage provider and you in a certain situation, the client understands where they need to be versus what they have. And when I say that, if the appraisal doesn't come back at value or above value, then there is a gap there that needs to be closed. And you dealing with the clients will let them know what their loan to value ratio is, and work with them on their available funds and help make an informed decision on how to present that offer with their realtor helping them throughout the time.
Well, let me give you some real facts about it too, because I put myself in a position, and this is personal too, is I was helping my daughter buy a house in Austin, and Austin's even crazier than Houston is. And the only way the realtor there told me that the only way this guy was going to accept an offer was if there was an appraisal waiver. Okay. Well, an appraisal waiver means that it doesn't matter what the property appraises for, that I was going to buy that house, or in this particular case, it was a condo. And I started doing the math on what that meant. And I mean, Austin is such a crazy real estate market. We had no idea whether this condo was going to appraise for what we were going to buy it for. And I mean, I was thinking, do I have enough money? Because what ends up happening is that the lender uses the lower of either the appraisal amount or the sales price.
Yep.
So it's the lower of that. And if I'd planned to put 5% down, it could have turned into $50,000 really quick on a $300,000 home. And I mean, I love my daughter, but I was going to have to force and tell her that that money is not going to come from daddy on this time. So, but if that is happening, I mean, it's something that happens every time. If anybody out there has questions about how that works, either call Joe or call me, because that is a scary world. I'm going to tell you that for sure.
It's not for the faint of heart. It's a powerful tool in regards to, I deal with investors. I deal with buyers that do have those available funds. So as long as you are knowledgeable of the investment you're fixing to make, if you're an investor and you have the available funds, or if you're on the buy side, buying a personal property, as long as you're aware of the exposure, let's call it the risk exposure with something like that, then I think that's the job of somebody that's qualified on the mortgage side to inform you of that, and then also somebody on the real estate side as a realtor to guide you through that process. It's not the only option on that sheet. There are other options that you can say, hey, we don't have extra funds to make up the gap. It needs to appraise at the value of the sales price. If you have that on your offer, it might not be as strong of an offer as other offers in a competitive situation, but guess what? You are protecting your interests as an informed buyer. And I believe that's the duty of me as a fiduciary agent on the realtor side, and with the knowledge and the quality of the information that you provide, Mike, it's where you come into play as well.
Well, I appreciate that. I got a question for you, Joe.
Yes, sir.
You know what the biggest reason is why young people don't buy a house?
Lack of knowledge, I think, whether or not they could qualify and what that means to them versus what they have available. I don't know. I mean,
well, that's it. Well, I think it's a valid one. If they are thinking seriously about buying a house, they start doing research and stuff. But the biggest reason, according to Fannie Mae and a survey they did back, I think it was in 2013, was the last one I saw, but it was money. And it's so hard to save up enough money for the down payment. And then most people don't even know what the down payment is. When they start saving, the perspective is, or the thing in their mind is, they've got to save 20%. And obviously, one of the things that we want to let you know today is that you don't need 20% to buy a house these days. Matter of fact, you can get in a house for a lot less than that. And there are actually ways that you can get in a house with very little money at all, except that it's not going to be one that just came on the market and there's 15 offers.
Or you're going to be living out in the country where USDA qualifies.
That's right.
But there are options, and if anybody is watching this video and you're renting a home, call me. I'll put you in touch with Mike. I'll walk you through the process of what you pay in rent per month versus what you need to qualify to get in a home. I know the market is competitive, and I know even in the leasing market is competitive, but why pay, if you can qualify for a house, why pay a landlord for the privilege of living in the landlord's house? Let's get you in a home that you own. Let's hopefully start establishing some equity for you, building your credit with your payments monthly, and building some value in a home that you can invest in and have something to call your own.
Well, let me piggyback off that, because I've got an actual scenario that I've mentioned before. I was helping my daughter buy this house. This was in February of 2022. Okay, that's a month and a half ago. We closed on the 15th of February. So that's 6 weeks ago. Her agent sent me an email last week and said 2 other units in that condo area sold this last week. We paid $315. I thought I was insane offering $315 for a very small condo. The 2 other properties sold $389. In 6 weeks, there was $60,000, maybe $70,000 in equity that was just magically put on that property because of these crazy real estate markets. And I will tell you, it's not a reason to run away. It's a reason to run to, because the thing that is making the housing market like it is, I don't think it's a bubble. There are a ton of people moving to Texas, and there just are not enough homes. And when the cost of living like it is in Texas right now, and the lack of properties there are to buy, I think it may not go up like it did in that particular instance, but that's a good example of how people have lived in a home a year, 2 years, 3 years, and the equity they've built up is life-changing money. And so is there risk? Yeah, there may be a little bit of risk,
Yeah.
but it's as rates go up higher, that window of opportunity is diminished. So I'm totally all about real estate. I think it's a great investment. And let me tell you, if the question is, should I buy or should I not? I tell them to buy every time.
I love real estate too. And if anybody has a question, please get in contact with me. I love to talk about what your question is and help you make informed decisions throughout this process. It's one of the things that I think is so fruitful with this business is that you get to help people, and helping people has been something that I have put forward as far as one of the things that I put on top of my life is that I want to help people get things done. I want to help people make informed decisions. I want to help people win those offers with the tools that I have, the contacts that I have, like you, Mike, and get them into a house where they can start building that equity and start building their future.
Yeah, well, that's a worthy thing, and there's no doubt about it. And yeah, I totally get that. Trying to help people is what we're about, and that's why I think I was drawn to Joe, is because I could immediately tell he liked people, loved to work with them, liked to help them, and I kind of fall on that same side. So really, not that we're all wonderful old people and we make money when we do these things, and we love that too. But we really do. The reason that we're sustained in this business and are excited about it is because we help people, and we like to see those people at the end walk in their house and they go, "This is my home." And then even better, if you've been in the business as long as I have, get to see them sell that property and make money and get the life-changing. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of people when you just $50,000, it comes into somebody's life. That's life-changing type of money. They can do so much with that. They can get completely out of debt. They can pay off all their student loans. Blah, blah, blah. Just goes on and on. So the real estate gig is a great gig. And if somebody's scared about it, well, that's one of the things. Is this really a good time to buy? Yeah, that's a good question. What would you say to that, Joe?
Say anytime's a good time to buy, as long as you're making an informed decision.
Yeah. You just
are there risks? Yeah, there are risks, like you mentioned, Mike. There's risk with everything. There's an upside to it. There's a downside to it. What goes up must come down. But as long as you're making an informed decision and you're weighing the risk versus the rewards, as long as you're getting the tools that are available to you through professionals like Mike and myself, I think you will at least be in an informed place to make decisions that can potentially affect you in a positive way as far as financing. And on that note, I purchased my house with my wife. We purchased it 15 years ago. We currently are sitting on $200,000 of equity.
Whoa, oh man, that's amazing.
It is possible, and the reason you don't see a different background behind me is that my son is still in high school, and so we're waiting on him to get out. But there is potential for growth. There's potential for depreciation as well. But as long as you're making those informed decisions and having the proper tools and the people on your side to make those decisions, I think that's one of the things that this presentation that we're doing weekly, Mike, I think that's part of what we're after, right? Helping people get better credit and buy better homes, right?
That's right. Yep, that's right. I'd almost finish on that, but I got to tell my one story. This is
okay. What you got?
The first home that Sandy and I bought was in San Antonio on a small little thing called Alamo Heights. I don't know if you know about Alamo Heights.
Yep.
They call it 78209 if you're a 09er, right? When we bought this house, it was 1,400 square foot frame house, and it cost our price. This was I forget. It was 1978, I think, is what it was. Yeah, it could have been 78. Anyway, $35,000. I looked at Sandy when we were putting an offer in on that house, and I told her, I said, honey, we're paying too much for this house. We're never going to be able to sell this house for what we paid for it. Well, we lived there 6 years, and I couldn't believe it. We sold it for $75,000. And I'm sickened every time I go to San Antonio and drive by that neighborhood and see that it's selling for $400,000.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. What's it, about $500,000 now?
Hadn't moved. Nothing's been done to that house. It's just on good dirt.
And
And
that's real estate. That's the first rule of real estate, right? Location,
right.
location, location.
And the question I ask myself is, why did I sell that then? Why did I do that? If I'd have held it, I would be super, well, I'd be, $500,000 richer. But that's what happens with real estate. And anyway, there's another back end of that story I'll tell you on the next one. But anyway, I think we're done. Unless you have
Thanks, Mike.
something else, Joe, go ahead, buddy.
That's it. Just wanted to let everybody know how to contact me. My number is 346-224-4224. Website's www.purplepaintinspections.com. You'll find information about my license, consumer protection information on that website. And then also you got www.selljoehouse.com. You'll also find information about my licensure for real estate and some more information about me on that website.
So if they go to purplepaintinspections.com, will they be able to find all your data?
They'll be able to find information about me, my licensure, and a feed of my Facebook on that one.
Same for me. The Kingwood Mortgage Guy, if you look up Kingwood Mortgage Guy, I should be right at the top of the table on that one. So I'd love for you to call either one of us. We might even work together for you. I don't know. But anyway, thank you for those that showed up today. And Joe, I did not ask one question from my list. I'm glad I got
one. I got one. That means I have to go first next time.
All right, good deal. I'll see you next week, same time, same station, and we'll finish up with better home, better credit, or better credit, better home. Either way. Talk to you soon.
All right. Bye.